called 1. I think I'll call this one 2. Okay? Thank you. Oh, I see. And then we go on to the next one. Okay. Where was I? Oh, emotion. All right, anyway. Consciousness seeks feeling. Right? This is a different type of... I'm going to get there. Be patient. And you're from India, you know what patience and tolerance is all about. It's in your genes, your genetic makeup. So, anyway, I'll come around to that. I'm just going to go fragmented now. Let's go stream of consciousness. All right, so Guru Maharaj, there's a famous mantra in the Ishopanishad. It's the invocation before the famous Isya Vasyam Idam Sarvam sloka kicks in. It says, Om Purnam Adat Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadayam Purnameva Vasishyate. And I'm not going to give the traditional rendering of this right now. We don't have that much time. I'm going to talk about math. Right? So Guru Maharaj, he liked to say it in this way, because it's talking about the infinite again, which is a constant theme with us, the absolute, the infinite, etc. And remind me to say, what did I say to the math teacher about an absolute integer? Will you remember to remind me of that if I forget? I said, all right, good. All right, so he said this way, what is Purnam? It's saying, he's Purnam, that means full and complete. And then so many full completes come from him. So many full completes can be absorbed in him. And it doesn't change his position. So he said, well, hello, help me out here. So then he went to math example. He said, all right, let's consider 0. Right? 0 times 0 equals 0. 0 divided by 0 equals 0. 0 plus 0 equals 0. 0 minus 0 equals 0. So he's showing this possibility, right? This is a mysterious thing. Right? 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus, if we go on ad infinitum, what's the... I bet you I know what it'll be at the end. And I think you do too. It'll be 0. And on this chalkboard, I'm going to write a 0. Right? So it's mystical. 0 has that sort of mystical position. Some people say, this will get like 50 people disagreeing. Some people say sunya, or 0, comes from India. There's a guy right, no, that was There's always somebody somewhere. It's a Russian guy somewhere who's like, no, 0 was invented by Alexei so-and-so underneath the polar ice cap. Okay, I hear you. Other people say that it came from India. So that's our little math lesson there. Now, I don't know if you were here last week. I know you were, but I don't know what you heard. I'm hearing things that I heard 20 years ago. I'm only hearing them now. I heard some of them yesterday, okay? Right? So Guru Maharaj once said, and I celebrated this, he said, quality brings us relief from mathematics. And I know you're probably a mathematician and don't mind it, all this stuff I'm saying. Like once I was on a flight, talking with someone about, I was flying from New York, from Moscow to New York, some woman from Ukraine sitting next to me. She was an economics, guru. We were having some discussion. I said, I'm not going to argue with a Marxist about economics, I'm sorry. It wasn't that funny then either, actually, but you get the idea. Marx wrote a book called Das Kapital, okay? You know how your mom knows everything that's wrong with you? Doesn't matter how big you become, how famous you've been, your mother knows what's wrong with you. I mean, I know it's true for me, and I think it's true for many people. Like, it doesn't matter, my mother used to always say, are you telling me stories? It's a southern way, the story means lies. But anyway, so your mom knows, you know that, right? Okay, so Karl Marx is writing Das Kapital in the British Museum, the library there. right? And have you ever seen the book? It's like this thick. It's all, almost impenetrable. So impenetrable, at one point they said, it's sacred. Let's not go there, but you get the idea. So, but now they say again, your mother knows what's wrong with you. And she said once, Carl, nice old Jewish lady, Mrs. Marks, she said, Carl, you're always talking about capital, but how about making some? And what was the ultimate failure of this thing? Didn't produce capital for all the talk and stuff. So Guru Maharaj tells us quality, and he means to say quality brings us relief from quantity. But he said in one thing, quality brings us relief from mathematics. Right? And now I can add the holy name part. And we'll talk to you later in some secular way that you'll be happy to hear. Just not in the mood right now. Right? So when we apply it to chanting, people say, well, do you chant this much? How many should you chant? One place it says you should chant, ekalakanam, right? 100,000 names. Right now we're dealing with big quantities. Or you should chant this much or that much. Or you'll see numbers given in different places. This many times and not that many times. Right? So what will Guru Maharaj say? Quality brings us relief from mathematics. Right? What's an example? Tunde tandini ritanute tundavale labdiye karna kroda kadambini jayate karnar budhebhya spriham cheta prangini sangini vijayate no jane janita kriyat krishneti varna dvai, forgetting some words. Srila Rupa Goswami, where's that, mosquitoes? Srila Rupa Goswami says, and he writes these beautiful plays. They're plays. This is something very mystical. Actually, it's reality. This is what's possible in the spiritual sense. He's writing reality in real time. It's not that he's writing a story that's very pleasing. What he composes is reality. When he says this servitor did this servitor said that, remember, the Vaikuntha world, it doesn't have the limitations of this world. So here, a poet, a playwright, they'd write a play, and someone goes, this is a very good play, like Shakespeare wrote so many plays. Somebody, we ought to perform it. Okay, right? They do that. This is very mystical. He writes something, it's real, in real time, in the eternal world. As Gurudev likes to quote the Brahma Sangita, in the very end, when it says, in that plane, sometimes not a moment of time passes without his will. The blink of an eye can be millions of years. Millions of years can be the blink of an eye. In the Leela of Krishna and Radharani and Brajagopis, they employ the expansion and contraction of time and space. So all of these considerations become irrelevant. So in one of the plays, these Chinmoy plays of Rupa Goswami, one of the devotees, I think Purnamasi, she says, I don't know the quantity of nectar there is in the two syllables, Krishneti Varna Dvai. Dvai, two, this Krishna. This is, I don't know, and neither do the greatest mathematicians in the world and others. They cannot measure, by their means, how much nectar there is in one name of Krishna. Just Krishna. And some example is given. And I should preface this by saying, when Mahaprabhu wanted to indicate the position of Rupa Goswami,